I thank the representative of the Asia region. I'll give now the floor to the representative of the Russian region. And from now on, I will use Spanish for conduct the meeting. Thank you.
Спасибо.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the indigenous peoples of the Russian Federation, allow me to express our gratitude for the work and efforts in preparing for the World Conference. We are well aware how difficult this process is on agreeing and regulating. However, all of us, we believe, are on the right path, as is affirmed by today's first informal consultations. For my part, I'd like to say that much of what we wanted to say on behalf of our region today has already been proposed and expressed. Therefore, I won't repeat this. However, I would like to say that we fully support the joint statements of indigenous peoples that today were already expressed. And we also support this statement of the Arctic Caucus of indigenous peoples. For our part, we'd particularly like to draw attention to the statement on providing the status of permanent membership for indigenous peoples within the UN process. And with that, I'd like to note, in particular, that there's an interagency body known as the Arctic Council of Arctic countries, with representatives of indigenous peoples from these countries, which participate on equal footing. And they take all decisions based on consensus. And we believe that this body is sufficiently effective. And at the Summit on Sustainable Development, the Arctic Council was recognized as a unique body for cooperation among states of indigenous peoples. I would like to express our gratitude to the representative of China, who drew particular attention to issues related to development of indigenous peoples. With great regret, we note that there are processes where the lives of indigenous peoples are being restricted, and this isn't right or in line with the Declaration of Indigenous Peoples. And the last thing, the proposal that I would like to make tangibly to introduce into the outcome document of the World Conference. All of us well know that we're coming to the end of the second indigenous decade. And many people are unhappy. There are objective assessments that today the situation of indigenous peoples remains very complex. However, we all need to understand that within the framework of the two international decades, today we do have a UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. A permanent forum has been affirmed for the rights of indigenous persons. The UN Working Group on Business Rights for Indigenous Peoples has introduced a particular report which considers the rights of indigenous peoples in business. And all of this is an achievement of the last 2 decades. And we believe that it would be very important to include in the outcome document the issues of the third international decade. In our view, this would once again make it possible to focus all endeavors that remain outstanding on indigenous peoples. And the third international decade should be devoted to the UN Declaration on Indigenous Peoples and the implementation thereof. For our part, we'd like to assure you that we're doing all we can to be successful, to ensure the success of the international conference. Thank you.